and she's sexy and she knows it. And her time as a sex worker has refined her understanding of her own sexuality and what her target audience likes. And have you seen the twerk video?
No.
All right, the twerk video is nuts, man. I mean, in this video, you've got dozens of beautiful women shaking their ass and twerking and looking sexy and doing a thing. And I'm not mad at the video at all. But she's been open to some serious criticism from just people generally and from feminists who define themselves differently in terms of their understanding of feminism. She said that she's been accused of playing the misogynist's game by objectifying women's bodies, and she's responded.
You believe in equal rights with men and women, that makes you a feminist. I don't understand how you bitches feel like being a feminist is a woman, they have an education, they have a degree. That is not being a feminist. You discouraging a certain type of woman, that definitely doesn't make you one. And some bitches want to act like, oh, you have to read a book about feminists. No, you do not. There's only a definition for a simple word. The problem is that being a feminist is something so great, and y'all don't want me to be great. But too bad, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna encourage any type of woman. You don't have to be a woman like me for me to encourage and support you and tell you, yes, bitch, keep on going. And that's why you fucking mad, you little dusty ass bitch.
That's Cardi, fam. What do you think of her definition of feminism?
I mean, I there's things I like about it. I think this is just like one of the pros and cons of having like a word to define a movement is then it becomes this thing, are you in or out? And then instead of just like having like a good discussion around the things that the criticisms people actually have over like what the actual impacts of that video are, we becomes a conversation about what whether or not she's a feminist, and which is like a much less interesting conversation to me. Like, I don't really care whether or not like somebody thinks she is or isn't a feminist. I think it's interesting and powerful that she defines herself as a feminist, because I like that word to get out there, because then people get interested in like what it means, and they like learn about all these various different critiques of our society that come under the banner of feminism, which are very powerful. And I think a lot of us have a lot to gain from getting into. So I like the idea that it gets the word further out there, that she takes it on. She's like, I am this thing. But I just don't care about the discussion about whether or not she's a feminist,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can't have that conversation until you have the first conversation, which is to define feminism.
Which there's that's a whole thing. Like that thousands, millions of academics are involved in and trying to figure out. And anyway, sorry, go ahead.
It's a whole thing. Yeah. No, it's a whole thing. I mean, but there's a history. There is a history, and there are movements that have existed in the past, and have we rest on those shoulders of the people who did that work, and today's feminism is sometimes considered a third wave of feminism, and it includes ownership of a woman's sexuality, and so Cardi represents easily. She sits in this category of feminism that wants to redefine words like slut and hoe and to say, those words aren't injurious to me.
Does she have a take on like when male artists in their videos just surround themselves with like almost naked women who are paid to be there? Has Cardi ever kind of like, do you know about that? She's spoken on those things. Is she cool with that?
I wonder. I don't know what she would say to that. I think she sees it as... Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Because I imagine that the people that are criticizing her would be saying something along the lines of like, that same image that was did harm when it was a male artist that was the one eventually making the money off the video, or who was the kind of face of the video, there's no difference between your video and those videos at some level in terms of that image. I guess is maybe what their argument would be. But I think there is a difference.
I think it's an interesting argument, and I think it's one worth having. And I think it's one. Now we're two cisgendered men, and maybe we're not best equipped for this conversation. This is a conversation that women have to have and are having about their liberation. And I think for me, some of the nuance is important. So I think if a woman says exactly what you said, that this music video, the twerk video, for instance, is indistinguishable from some of the misogynist, masculine, male-oriented videos, I don't see how that's not there's validity in that as well, as far as I'm concerned. There's something there. I just hope that Cardi and others can have that conversation with those detractors and figure it out, There's
actually a shot in that video that reminded me of the Thong Song video, where it kind of camera on the dolly going past all the butts. But I was.
And who doesn't love some butts, man? Yo, who doesn't love it? Yo, but it's a question. So Cardi would say, yo, at least I'm owning that. It's me as opposed to some other guy. Now, obviously, there's a label and so clearly there's some white guy at the top somewhere. But Cardi gets to inject herself and extract, as much as she can from the commerce of this, and there's some value to that.
And also, twerking is like a pretty impressive dance. There's some real art there in twerking. It takes practice and it's hard to do. And
if you do it well, I've seen some people do it poorly. I'm one of those. I can't twerk.
Like all art forms, man. Like all art forms.
Yeah.
It's that's how you know it's an art form. If somebody's doing it poorly, that's how you know it takes practice.
Real talk.